My name is Maya Hartwell. I was 34 years old the year I found out what a sealed envelope can do to a family that already thought it had one. My grandmother turned 81 on a Saturday in September. She baked her own cake that morning. Lemon with cream cheese frosting, tiny yellow rosettes piped on by hand, same as she had done every single year since before I was alive. She ironed her good linen tablecloth. She cut fresh dahlias from the backyard and set them in the blue mason jar she saved for company. She put out enough plates and napkins for 10 people. Nobody came. My parents were wine tasting in Napa Valley. "Life is short, honey," my mother Sandra had texted me the week before. My brother Derek sent a message at 3:48 that afternoon. "Happy birthday, Grandma. Things are crazy over here, lol." My father Robert did not reach out at all. My mother posted a sunset photo to her book club group chat with the caption, "Grateful for every blessing." I drove 2.5 hours from Nashville after my Saturday shift. Gas station sunflowers on the passenger seat. And I found my grandmother sitting alone at the head of her dining room table in Cedarwood, Tennessee. Candles had burned all the way down into the frosting. The lemon cake was still beautiful, though. Her hands were folded around a glass of sweet tea like she was just waiting for someone to say grace. She looked up at me the way you look at something you are not sure is real. "Gran," I said. "Maya." Her whole face changed in 1 second flat. "Did you really drive all this way?" I cut her a slice. I sang happy birthday twice because she asked me to start over the first time. We ate cake with our hands because neither one of us felt like going to find forks. And later, when I helped carry her to bed, I noticed how light she was. Like a bird. Like something the wind could just take. She grabbed my hand before I could pull the quilt up. Her eyes went sharp. Not the soft, hazy fog that had been settling over her more and more lately. Clear. Like that first cold morning in fall when you can suddenly see all the way to the tree line. "They think I'm not paying attention," she whispered. I waited for her to say more. She was already asleep. "Hey, welcome back to Silent Revenge. This is the channel where regular people draw quiet lines that end up changing everything. If you have ever had to stand up for someone who could not stand up for themselves, this story is going to hit you somewhere real. Drop a comment right now and tell me what city you're watching from. Genuinely means the world to me to know who is out there. And stick around because what happened the very next morning changed everything. Let me tell you who I am in this family because it matters a lot for this story. The Hartwells of Cedarwood are a very specific kind of Tennessee comfortable. My father Robert spent 25 years as a financial advisor at a regional wealth management firm. Kind of man who wore khakis to the grocery store and talked about his golf game like it was a second job. My mother Sandra ran the social calendar. Charity luncheons, junior league events, the occasional real estate staging project she called her little passion. Then there was my brother Derek. He had built a real estate investment company called Derek Hartwell Acquisitions. They bought beat-up properties, fixed them, and flipped them for whatever the market would bear. He drove a $65,000 pickup truck, wore expensive watches, and used words like cash flow and asset management the way regular people use please and thank you. And then there was me. I was a legal assistant at a small estate planning firm in Nashville. 4 of us total. We handled wills, trusts, guardianship paperwork, powers of attorney. I made $49,000 a year and studied for the bar exam at night. My family called me the paperwork girl. At Thanksgiving, Sandra would tilt her head with that practiced smile and say, "Maya is still doing her little legal aid thing." Like I was selling friendship bracelets at a craft fair. I did not argue. I just kept reading the fine print. But this house in Cedarwood, Grandma Elaine's house, was mine in every way that mattered and 0 ways that counted on paper. I took my first steps on that kitchen floor. Elaine taught me how to read a lease on the back porch when I was 19. Her reading glasses on her nose. A red pen between her teeth. She co-signed my first apartment when my parents said no. I knew every crack and every ceiling of that house like I knew my own face. So I stayed the night. Around midnight I could not sleep and I got up for water. On the hallway shelf, tucked behind a framed family photo from a lake trip back in 2009, I found a business card. Connie Marsh, Marsh & Barlow Realty. On the back in handwriting I did not recognize, estimated value $725,000. Quick close possible. Client very motivated. My stomach turned into a stone. I put the card back. My hands were steady. My insides were not. Sunday morning I cleaned the kitchen while Elaine dozed in her recliner with a crossword puzzle sliding off her lap. The birthday cake went into a storage container. The melted candles went in the trash. I was wiping down the counter when someone knocked. 2 people on the front porch. A woman, maybe 65. Silver hair, short. Wool blazer. Leather briefcase. The kind of put-together that says I have been doing this for a very long time. The man beside her was maybe 40, carrying a notary seal in a small zippered pouch. "Maya Hartwell?" the woman asked. "Yes. My name is Claire Moss. Moss and Tatum Estate Law. This is my colleague James Rourke." She held out a manila folder. Thick. Sealed. My grandmother's name printed on the tab in blue ink. Her handwriting. "Your grandmother hired my firm 14 months ago. She asked us to bring this to you personally. When the time came." When the time came for what? Claire glanced through the screen door at the recliner. Her face softened just a little. "Come to my office when you are ready. And do not talk to your parents about this before we meet." They were in their car and pulling away before I could get a second word out. I stood on the porch holding that folder. Heavier than it looked. The seal had been signed across the flap in Elaine's own handwriting. Her big, looping cursive. The wide capital E. The double curve on the lowercase l. This was not a shaky mark. This was the writing of a woman who knew exactly what she was putting her name on. My phone buzzed. Who was at the door? "Do not sign anything, Maya." "Mom." I turned it face down and brought the folder inside. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where the birthday cake had sat the night before, and I broke the seal. Inside, a recorded deed, a trust document, a power of attorney, signed witness pages, and a doctor's letter dated 14 months ago. Clipped to the front was a handwritten note on Elaine's personal stationery. Cream paper. Blue ink. "Maya, when they come for the house, open this. Everything you need is inside. I love you. I am sorry it has to be this way. It has to be you." I read it 3 times. Each time those words, "when they come," landed harder. Not if. When. She had known. 14 months ago, before the forgetting got really bad. Before she started mixing up names. Before she got turned around driving to the pharmacy 4 blocks from her front door. She had known someone was coming for her house. And she had prepared. I closed the folder and pressed my hand flat on top of it. Through the doorway I could hear Elaine snoring softly. Crossword puzzle had slid off her lap onto the floor. She had hired a lawyer. She had signed documents. She had left me instructions. I did not sleep that night. Monday morning I called in sick to work for the first time in 4 years. Something in me just said stay. I found it while taking out the recycling. A lockbox. A realtor's combination lockbox clamped onto the gas meter behind the hydrangea bushes on the side of the house, tucked just out of sight from the front walk. I stood there staring at it for a full 10 seconds. Somebody had been showing this house. I went back inside and dug through the pile of mail on the hallway table. 3 weeks of unopened envelopes. Buried between a water bill and a coupon flyer was an off-market listing sheet printed on Marsh & Barlow letterhead. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, original hardwood floors, half-acre lot. Listed at $725,000. That was a full $60,000 below the most recent sale in the same neighborhood. In the kitchen junk drawer, between a dead flashlight and some old takeout menus, I found the thing that made my hands go cold. Purchase agreement. And signed but completely filled in. Buyer, Redstone Capital Holdings LLC. Cash offer. 30-day close. The seller's signature line was blank, but someone had penciled E. Harper in block letters just below it. Like a rehearsal. Like they were practicing her name. The listing agent was Connie Marsh. The buyer's contact was a man named Thomas Greer. And the seller's representative listed on the agreement, the person set up to act on Elaine's behalf, was Derek Hartwell. My brother. I sat down on the kitchen floor and spread everything around me. The lockbox. The listing sheet. Purchase agreement. Connie's business card. And a sticky note in Sandra's handwriting stuck to the back of the folder. Closing target October 28th. That was less than 3 weeks away. I picked up Claire Moss's card. I called my mother first. 6 in the evening. She answered on the second ring. Voice warm and bright. "Oh, Maya. How is Gran doing? We had the most wonderful time in Napa. There is a lockbox on our gas meter, Mom." Silence. 2 seconds. 3. "Sweetheart, that is being handled. Your father and Derek have been working with an agent to find a good plan for your grandmother. You know she cannot manage a big house on her own anymore. There is a purchase agreement in her kitchen drawer." The warmth dropped a full level. "Maya." The voice she used when she was done being warm. "This is a family decision. Your father, Derek, and I have been handling Gran's affairs for months. You do not need to worry about the paperwork. Does she know the house is being sold?" "She knows what she needs to know." I heard ice clink against a glass. "Derek's company is in trouble," Sandra went on, the patient voice now, the one she used for people she had already decided were being too emotional. "The house can pay for a good memory care facility for Gran and help your brother get through this rough patch. It is the right thing to do for the whole family. It is her house, Mom."
"Maya, all the way to the bottom now. Cold and finished. Your grandmother has dementia. She leaves the stove on. She got lost driving to the pharmacy. She should not be making decisions about a $725,000 asset." She paused. I could almost hear her pick the words. "She will not even remember this house by Thanksgiving." The phone hummed between us. "Then it is a good thing I will," I said. I hung up. I picked up Claire Moss's card and held it next to the folder under the kitchen light. Tomorrow I would drive to Nashville. Tonight I had a lot of reading to do. If this story is already getting under your skin, you are not alone. Drop a comment right now. Tell me what time it is where you are and what city you are in. And if you have ever watched someone treat an older person like they are past their expiration date, type ICIT in the comments. Because what comes next is going to blow you away. Here is something I need to tell you before we go any further. Something nobody knew until much later. Pearl Watkins, 83 years old, 5'2", sharp as a paper cut, had lived 3 houses down from Elaine for 31 years. She and Elaine traded garden cuttings, watched each other's cats, and argued about pie crust recipes like it was a matter of life and death. Pearl had noticed the strangers. On Tuesdays, while the home health aide was there, cars she did not recognize would pull up. People would walk through the house. Pearl knew every single vehicle on Cedarwood Lane. These were not neighbors. She had called Adult Protective Services 6 weeks earlier and filed an anonymous complaint. No name, no callback number. The caseworker noted it and moved on for lack of follow-up. Pearl was scared of what Derek might do if she left her name.
"I did not know any of that yet."
I would find out later in a way that stopped me cold. Claire Moss's office was on the 3rd floor of a converted brownstone on Commerce Street in Nashville. Oriental rugs. Framed law degrees from Vanderbilt. A small brass sign by the door, Moss and Tatum, Elder Law and Estate Planning. I called at 7:15 in the morning. Her receptionist put me straight through in under a minute. If you know anything about law offices, you know that means they were expecting the call. "Miss Hartwell." Claire's voice had that same calm from the porch. I am glad you reached out. Can you come in today? She met me in a conference room with a pot of coffee and a box of tissues. She sat quietly on the table between us, without making anything of it. Your grandmother came to me 14 months ago, she began. Early August. She had gotten turned around on the highway, ended up 20 miles from home, could not find her way back. A highway patrolman helped her get home. She called me the very next morning. How did she know you? Her friend Dorothy had used our firm for a trust. Elaine came in alone. She was sharp and focused. A pause. And she was scared. Of what? Of exactly what is happening right now. She said, my son will do whatever Sandra tells him to do. And Sandra will sell this house the minute I cannot stop her. She wanted to get everything locked down before she lost the ability to do it. I set down my coffee. She chose you specifically, Miss Hartwell. She said, Maya is the only one who will fight for the house because she is the only one who understands what it means. Claire walked me through every page in that folder. 14 months ago, Elaine had walked into this office, carrying her own folder of papers.
The deed.
Tax records. Her old will. A handwritten list of questions on yellow legal pad paper. She told me she had noticed the forgetting, Claire said. Names first, then appointments, then directions she had driven 1,000 times. Her doctor had used the words early stage. She figured she had maybe a year before the window closed. What window? The window for making legally binding decisions while she still had the mental ability to do so. She wanted 2 things. To protect the house. And to choose who would protect her when she could not protect herself. And she did not choose my father. No, Claire said. She did not. That hit me somewhere deep in the chest. Robert Hartwell was Elaine's only child. She had put him through college, paid for his first suit, danced at his wedding. And when the moment came to hand someone the keys to her life, she had looked right past him and gone straight to me. Because she knew. She knew Robert would follow Sandra's lead. She knew Sandra would add it all up on a spreadsheet. She knew Derek would be in need. Claire showed me the 3 pieces that made everything work. First was a living trust. Elaine had moved the house, the deed, everything, into a legal trust called the Elaine M. Harper Revocable Living Trust. Dated August 9th of last year. She was in charge of the trust while she was mentally able. I was the backup in charge. The moment a doctor confirmed she could no longer make sound decisions, legal control of that house passed directly to me. Not my father. Not Derek.
Me.
Second was a power of attorney. Elaine had named me as her legal agent for all money and health decisions. The important thing was that this one did not expire when she got sick. It switched on. Third was a letter from her doctor, Dr. Patricia So, her neurologist. Dated August 9th. It confirmed that on that day, Elaine fully understood what she was signing, what a trust was, what a power of attorney meant, and exactly what she was putting beyond everyone else's reach. So the house is not hers to sell anymore, I said. Not as an individual.
Correct.
It belongs to the trust. And no one with the personal power of attorney over Elaine has any say over property that already sits inside the trust. Only the trustee can approve a sale. And the trustee is me. Once she is confirmed to lack mental capacity. Based on what you have described, those rules are likely already in effect. She leaned forward. There is one more thing. If your family recently got her to sign anything, a new power of attorney, a listing agreement, during a time when she was not mentally sound to do so, those papers will not hold up. She let that sit for a moment. They may have had her sign something newer. I drove back to Cedarwood that evening with one question running on a loop in my head. What did Derek bring for her to sign? I found it in the bottom of the hallway credenza, buried under old church bulletins and a Bible with a cracked spine. A power of attorney dated September 10th, barely 6 weeks ago. It named Robert Hartwell as Elaine's agent for all money and property decisions. Stapled to it, a listing authorization giving Derek Hartwell the right to act as the seller's representative. I carried both papers to the kitchen table and laid them next to the originals from Claire's folder. The difference hit me before I even finished unfolding them. Elaine's documents from 14 months ago, strong and confident. Clean lines. The woman who had signed my high school permission slips with a fountain pen, who had written birthday cards like every letter meant something. The September power of attorney, shaking lines. The capital E barely rose above the bottom edge. The loops folded in on themselves. The pen had lifted off the page between letters, leaving gaps where there should have been smooth flow. This was not the writing of a woman who understood what she was signing. This was the writing of a woman who was simply told where to press down. I checked the date on my phone. September 10th. My stomach dropped straight to the floor. That was the exact week Elaine had been taken to the emergency room after a fall. Sandra had texted me. Gran took a little tumble. Nothing serious. She is resting. And I, fool that I was, had sent back a heart emoji and gone back to studying. The discharge papers I found in the mail pile said, patient disoriented upon arrival. On and off confusion throughout stay. Recommend follow-up with neurologist. They had gotten her to sign a power of attorney during the same week she had been in the hospital for confusion. I photographed every single document. Then I called Claire. Claire came to the house on Friday. Not her office. The house. She said it mattered that we do this at Elaine's kitchen table, and the moment she laid everything out I understood exactly why. The table was old oak. Scratched from 40 years of Christmases, ringed from coffee cups, nicked from a Thanksgiving where 12-year-old Derek had tried to carve a turkey with a steak knife. Elaine always said the marks gave it character. Now it held 5 documents in a row, edges straight, like items laid out before a judge. Document 1. The recorded trust deed. Filed with the Cedarwood County Clerk on August 14th of last year. Stamped. Indexed. On the public record. Document 2. The power of attorney naming me as Elaine's legal agent. 2 witnesses. Notarized. Document 3. Dr. So's letter confirming Elaine's mental soundness on August 9th. She fully understood the nature of what she was signing. She knew her assets. She made her choices clearly. Document 4. The September power of attorney naming Robert. Shaky's signature. No doctor's evaluation attached. No independent witness. Signed during a week of documented hospital confusion. Document 5. The listing agreement. Derek as seller's representative. Connie Marsh as agent. Off-market. Priced $60,000 below what other homes on that street had recently sold for. Claire looked at me across the table. The house has been inside the trust for over a year. Elaine cannot sell it as an individual. The September power of attorney, even if it held up legally, gives no authority over property that already sits inside a trust. And based on the medical records, it almost certainly does not hold up. She placed both hands flat on the oak surface. This sale cannot close. The house was never theirs to sell. The 2 signatures sat side by side on that table. One strong, one crumbling. And between them, a doctor's letter drawing a clean line between the woman Elaine was and the woman they had taken advantage of. She will not remember the house by Thanksgiving. But Elaine had remembered. Before any of them had even started making plans. We built a plan. Quiet and careful. The kind built on paper, not anger. Step 1 was getting a current medical evaluation from Dr. So confirming that the September power of attorney was signed when Elaine lacked the mental ability to understand it. I called the office Monday morning. The receptionist put me on hold for 9 minutes. When she came back, her voice had that careful, trained quality. I am sorry, Miss Hartwell, but we have received a request to restrict access to Mrs. Harper's medical records. I gripped the phone. Restrict access from who? The request says records are not to be released to anyone other than the designated family contact. And who is the designated family contact? A pause. Robert Hartwell. My father. They had not just gotten her to sign papers. They had built a wall around her. I sat in my car in the clinic parking lot with my forehead on the steering wheel. 6 weeks ago, right after the September power of attorney, they had locked me out. I called Claire. Expected, she said. No surprise at all. We will file a HIPAA release form under your power of attorney. Yours came first and names you as her health agent. The clinic is required by law to honor it. I will send the paperwork today. 2 days later, I had the records. Dr. So agreed to do a current evaluation. The system moves slow, I told myself. But it moves. Sandra came to the house on a Thursday. No flowers. No food. She brought a brochure. Magnolia Gardens Memory Care, where every day feels like home. She spread it on the kitchen table like she was pitching a vacation package. Private rooms, she said. A garden. Music therapy 3 times a week. It is really lovely, Maya. Gran does not want to leave her house. Gran does not always know what she wants. Sandra smoothed the brochure with both palms.
Calm.
Patient. The voice she used for people she had already written off as being unreasonable. Your father and I have been looking into this for weeks. If we move her before Thanksgiving, we can have the house ready to show by December 1st. I looked at her. You already have a buyer, Mom. You have had one for months. A flicker crossed her face. Just a half second. The tiniest crack. Maya. Her voice dropped. I know this is emotional for you. You have always been attached to this house. But your brother is in real trouble. This family needs to come together. By selling an 81-year-old woman's home out from under her. Sandra's eyes filled up. Real tears, or the kind she could summon on demand. After 34 years, I honestly could not tell anymore. After everything this family has done for you, Maya. She stood up and left the brochure on the table. I almost walked out that night. I want to be honest about that. It would have been so much easier. But if you have ever sat beside someone who is slowly losing their grip on the world and watched another person look at that and see nothing but a dollar amount, you know exactly why I did not move. I had 18 days until the closing. Day 1. I filed a report with Adult Protective Services. The intake worker was patient and completely unsurprised by a single thing I told her. Different names, same playbook. I gave her the facts. An 81-year-old woman with documented memory loss. A legal paper signed during a hospital stay. A below-market cash sale. A son positioned to profit. We will assign an investigator. Is there anything to speed up the process? You mentioned a closing date. 18 days. I will flag it as urgent. After I hung up, Claire called back within the hour. Maya, something came up. Adult Protective Services told me quietly that yours is not the first complaint about this situation. An anonymous call came in about 6 weeks ago. No follow-up contact, so it stalled. But the file already exists. 6 weeks ago, someone had seen this coming even before I had. I did not know who. Not yet. Day 4. My father came alone. He pulled into the driveway in his old Buick, the errand car, not the church car, and sat behind the wheel for a long time before getting out. I watched from the kitchen window. He looked smaller than I remembered, the way people sometimes do when the thing holding them up has been knocked away. He came in through the back door the way he had entered that house since he was a boy. He did not look at me right away. He just stood in the kitchen and looked around, the copper pots on the rack, the prism hanging above the sink that threw little rainbows across the floor every morning, the oak table he had eaten thousands of meals at. She used to sing in this kitchen, he said, barely above a whisper. Patsy Cline every Sunday morning. I know, Dad. He sat down, hands flat on the table. I watched them shake. I know what you think of me. His voice was rough. I did not want any of this. Derek is in over his head, and Sandra says the house is the only way. And Mom, his voice broke. Just barely. A crack in the foundation. Mom would not want Derek to lose everything he built. You could still stop this, Dad. He looked at me for one long, awful second. I saw the boy who grew up in this kitchen. The man who still sat in the same chair at Thanksgiving every year. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. Sandra. He stood up. I should go. He left through the back door. He did not stop to say goodbye to his mother. I washed his coffee cup and put it away. Day 5. I bought a cake. Nothing fancy. A 6-inch lemon cake with cream cheese frosting from Maple Bake on Maine. I set it on the kitchen table at 2 in the afternoon with 2 plates, 2 forks, 2 paper napkins.
Gran.
Come sit. She shuffled in from the living room, reading glasses on top of her head, a crossword puzzle folded in her cardigan pocket. She saw the cake and stopped. Whose birthday? Yours. We're doing it over. She sat down. I lit one candle because 81 candles seemed like a genuine fire risk, and I wanted to make her laugh. She looked at the flame the way you look at something you are trying to hold on to. Like if you stare hard enough, it will stay. Make a wish, I said. She closed her eyes. She blew it out on the first try. What did you wish for? She looked at me with those clear, steady eyes. I wished you would stay. We ate cake and talked. She told me about the dahlias she had planted the year I was born. She told me the oak table came from her mother's house in Knoxville, hauled on the back of a pickup truck in 1976, and that every single scratch on the surface was a holiday she had survived. Then she put her fork down and leaned toward me. Do not let them take the table, she said.
Quiet. Fierce.
The table stays, Gran. Day 6. The phone call started. My Aunt Carol called first. Careful, concerned. Maya, honey, your mother says you are trying to take control of Elaine's finances. Aunt Carol, did Sandra happen to mention that she and Derek are trying to sell Gran's house while Gran has memory loss?
3 more calls came that day.
Derek's business partner. A woman from Elaine's garden club. Sandra's friend from the junior league. Every single one carried the same basic script. Slight variations, same message. Maya is overstepping. Maya is too emotional. Maya does not understand the family's situation. Sandra had shaped the story before I could even open my mouth. I did not fight it. I did not post anything. I did not call anyone back. The documents speak, Claire had told me. You do not have to. At 9 that night my phone rang one more time. Aunt June. Elaine's younger sister. 78 years old, Knoxville. Sharp as a tack.
Maya.
I do not believe a single word Sandra is saying. You want to know why? Because your grandmother called me last August. She said she had been to see a lawyer. She said, if anything happens, back Maya up. A pause. I am backing you up. Whatever you need. 12 days until the closing. Day 7. Derek came. He did not knock. He never knocked. Just walked in with his keys jingling and his smile already locked and loaded. That big, easy confidence he had worn his whole life. The swagger of a man who had never once walked into a room he did not think was glad to see him. Hey, May. He kissed the top of my head. Cedar cologne. Expensive leather. Just checking in on Gran. That is real sweet that you are here. I know about the listing, Derek. The smile adjusted. Did not disappear, just shifted. Warmth to business mode. Look. He opened the fridge, grabbed a water, leaned against the counter like he owned the place. Which, in his mind, he basically already did. I know this seems fast, but here is the reality. I have got a balloon payment due in 7 weeks. $840,000. I miss it, the bank takes my projects. 3 years of work. Gone.
He looked at me.
So, yeah, I am working on a solution. For the whole family. By selling Gran's house out from under her. By managing an asset that she cannot manage herself. She does not even know what day it is, Maya. She knows people have been walking through her house.
His jaw tightened.
He stepped closer. Do not make this difficult. We are family. Family helps family. Is that what you said when you brought papers for her to sign during her hospital stay? Something crossed his face for just a second. A flash of something that was not confidence. Then the smile came back. Harder. Forced. It is basically sold already, Maya. The closing is set. I would think real carefully before you make enemies out of people who love you. He left his water bottle on the counter and walked out without looking back. Now here is where things get really interesting. I was sitting at the kitchen table that night going through documents when there was a soft knock at the back door. The kind of knock from someone who is not sure they should be there. I opened it to find Pearl Watkins on the back step in her housecoat and slippers, holding a mason jar of persimmon jam. I know it is late, she said, but I need to tell you something. She was the one who had made that anonymous call to Adult Protective Services 6 weeks earlier. She had watched the strangers walk through on Tuesday afternoons. She had seen Derek's truck in the driveway at strange hours. One afternoon, she had looked out her kitchen window and watched a man with a clipboard walking the perimeter of Elaine's yard, writing things down. I was scared to leave my name, she said, eyes wet. I did not think anybody would listen to an old lady on Cedarwood Lane. But Elaine Harper has been my neighbor for 30 years. She pressed the jar into my hands. I needed you to know you are not alone. I hugged Pearl Watkins right there in my grandmother's back doorway and held on. Your call is in their file, I told her. It matters more than you will ever know. She wiped her eyes, pulled her housecoat tighter, and shuffled back down the dark yard toward her porch light. If you're still with me right now, type Pearl in the comments. Because she did not have to do a thing. She was scared, and she did it anyway. And that call ended up matching. Keep watching. Day 8. Claire and I locked in the details. The closing was set for October 28th at Pinnacle Title Services on Commerce Street. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Conference room A. The escrow officer was a woman named Donna Reeves. 20 years in the title business. A reputation for doing things exactly by the book. Claire had made an off-the-record call to the title company and learned something that made her go quiet on the phone. Donna Reeves flagged the file 3 weeks ago, Claire told me. During the routine title search, she found the house was held in a trust. She reached out to Connie Marsh for clarification. Marsh sent over a signed statement claiming the trust had been closed and the property moved back to Elaine's individual name. That is not true.
No.
It is not. No such transfer was ever recorded anywhere. Donna accepted it for the time being, but made a note in her file that she could not find the recording. The closing was listed as pending until the title was cleared.
She paused.
Connie Marsh lied to the title officer, Maya. The whole deal is standing on ice that is already cracking. All it needs is someone to walk in with the original recorded deed. Day 9. The night before the closing. I sat with Elaine in the living room. She was having a good hour. Not a good day, those had become rare, but a good hour. Working her crossword with a ballpoint pen. No pencil because she always said pencils are for people who do not trust themselves.
Gran.
Tomorrow is going to be a big day. She did not look up. 7 across. Legal protection document. 5 letters. I smiled. Trust. She wrote it in slowly. Smarty pants. I watched her hand. The pen moved with purpose. Small, careful letters. Not the confident loops from 14 months ago. But not the broken scrawl from the September papers either. Somewhere between the two. A woman at the edge of the window, still reaching toward the glass. She set the crossword down and looked at me. You went to see the lawyer. I paused. I did. Did I do it right? Her eyes were clear and still.
Gran.
You did it exactly right. She reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Handed it to me. A note. Shaky, but readable. Recent. For Maya, keeper of the table. Below it, her signature. Not strong, not broken. Somewhere in the middle. Shaky, but done on purpose. Written by a woman who knew she was fading and wanted to leave one more mark while she still could. I am not gone yet, she said. I know. Tomorrow. She looked at me steadily. You go tomorrow. I will be there. I folded the note into my wallet, right next to the original one from the folder. In the morning, both notes and I would walk into that closing room together. Pinnacle Title Services was a single-story brick building on Commerce Street with tinted windows and a brass door handle polished to a mirror finish. I parked across the street at 1:40 in the afternoon. Claire pulled in next to me at 1:50. James, her notary colleague, was already inside. We walked in together. Claire carried her briefcase. I carried the folder. Conference room A was small. 8 chairs around an oval table. A water pitcher. A printer humming in the corner. Donna Reeves was arranging papers in neat stacks at the head of the table. She looked up when we walked in, glanced at Claire, and paused for half a second. Ms. Moss. I do not have your firm on this transaction. I represent the Elaine M. Harper Revocable Living Trust, Claire said, setting her briefcase on the table. We have documents directly relevant to this closing. Donna Reeves's pen stopped moving. Before she could say anything, the door opened behind us. Sandra came in first. Cashmere blazer. Pearl earrings. Smile preloaded. Derek followed in a tailored sport coat, jaw set, leather folder under his arm. My father came behind them, gray-faced, staring at the floor. Connie Marsh was next, hair freshly done, a thick stack of closing papers in her hand like she had already won. And last came Thomas Greer, Redstone Capital's man, navy suit, all business. Sandra saw me and stopped cold. Maya. Her eyes went to Claire.
To the folder in my hands.
Her smile held, but the muscles underneath it shifted. What exactly are you doing here?
Taking a seat, I said.
I sat down.
Claire sat beside me.
I set the folder in front of me, and I waited. The room went quiet. Even the printer stopped humming. Donna Reeves looked at Claire. You said you have documents. I do. Claire opened her briefcase and laid 3 items on the table, one at a time, centered and flat, the way you would set evidence before a court. First, a certified copy of the recorded trust deed, filed with the Cedarwood County Clerk on August 14th of last year. It transfers the property at 22 Magnolia Drive into the Elaine M. Harper Revocable Living Trust. My client Maya Hartwell is the named trustee.
Sandra's smile fell.
Floor by floor, like a building losing power. Second, the power of attorney naming Maya Hartwell as Elaine's legal agent for all money and health decisions. Signed August 9th of last year. Notarized.
Witnessed.
Still fully in effect. Derek leaned forward. We have a more recent power of attorney, that. Third, Claire placed the doctor's letter. A mental capacity evaluation by Dr. Patricia So, Elaine's neurologist, dated August 9th of last year. It confirms Elaine was fully sound of mind when she signed these documents. She placed a second letter beside the first. I also have Dr. So's current evaluation from last week. It confirms that Elaine no longer has the mental ability to make binding legal decisions. That means any documents signed after her condition declined, including the September power of attorney obtained during her hospital stay, were signed without the understanding required to make them legally valid. The room went absolutely still. Donna Reeves picked up the trust deed. She read it. She compared it to the title report in her file. Then she turned to Connie Marsh. Ms. Marsh, you submitted a statement saying this trust had been closed. Connie's face went the color of old concrete. I was told. The trust was never closed, Claire said. Her voice did not change by a single degree. The recorded deed confirms it. This property belongs to the trust. The sale cannot go forward. Donna Reeves set the papers down, squared her shoulders, and said the 6 words that ended everything. I cannot close this transaction. For seconds of silence. Then Sandra exploded. This is ridiculous. She was on her feet, palms on the table, pearls swinging. Maya is a legal assistant. She has no authority here. My husband is Elaine's son, her only child, and he has a signed power of attorney executed during a week of documented hospital confusion, Claire said, with no mental capacity evaluation attached. A power of attorney that, even if it were valid, gives no authority over property held inside a trust. You cannot do this. Derek was standing now too, and for the first time I had ever seen in my life, the performance was completely gone. What was underneath it was raw and real and scared. I have an $840,000 payment due in 7 weeks, Maya. His voice cracked. If this falls through, the bank takes everything.
3 years of my life.
3 years. Mr. Hartwell. Donna Reeves's voice was flat and final. Your financial situation is not part of this closing. This is Grand's house, I said. It is the trust's house, Claire said. Managed by the trustee Elaine chose. That trustee is sitting at this table. Derek turned on me. His face was something I had never seen before. All that charm and ease stripped down to bare bone. You are going to destroy this family, Maya. I kept my voice exactly at the level I had practiced. Normal volume. Steady. You tried to sell an 81-year-old woman's home while she sat alone at her own birthday table with nobody there to cut her cake. You had her sign legal papers during a hospital stay. You lied to the title company about a trust that was never closed. And I am the one destroying this family? Derek's mouth opened, then closed. Sandra was crying now. Loud, messy sobs. After everything I have done for this family. Everything. My father had not said a single word since he walked into that room. He sat without moving, staring at the trust deed, at his mother's signature, the strong one, the one written by a woman who had set all of this in motion while her son was not paying attention. I could see him doing the math. Slowly, painfully. She had looked at her only child and decided he was not enough to protect her. Thomas Greer stood up, closed his folder, nodded to Donna Reeves, and walked out without a word. Connie Marsh was already packing up her papers, not looking at anyone. Claire spoke into the quiet. For the record, an Adult Protective Services investigation into the financial exploitation of Elaine Harper is currently active. The September power of attorney will be formally challenged in court. Any further attempt to sell, put a claim on, or transfer trust property without the trustee's approval will be treated as a legal matter. Sandra stopped crying. The tears were still on her face, but the expression beneath them had gone hard. She looked at me with something I can only describe as cold calculation wearing grief like a costume. "You will regret this," she said. "When Derek loses his company, when your father has nowhere to turn, when this whole family falls apart, you will remember that you did this." I stood up. I picked up the folder. I looked at my mother, the cashmere and the pearls and the tears she had always known exactly when to use, and I said the only thing left to say. "You do not get to decide what she is worth." I thanked Donna Reeves for her work. She nodded and told me she would mark the closing as void and flag the file. I walked out of conference room. Claire and James followed me out. The October air hit my face cold and clean, and I stood on the Commerce Street sidewalk for 10 full seconds before I remembered to breathe. "You did well," Claire said. "I did what she asked me to. That is what I mean." I drove back to Cedarwood with the folder on the passenger seat. The house was still there. The dahlias were still along the front walk, browning now in the October cold. The porch light was on. I went inside and found my grandmother asleep in her recliner, crossword in her lap, pen still loosely held in one hand. I knelt beside her chair and pulled the quilt up around her shoulders. "It is done, Gran. The house is safe." She stirred. Her hand found mine. That thin grip. Paper thin. Her eyes opened. Hazy at first, then slowly clearing. "Baby." She sometimes used that name from long ago, someone from a chapter of her life I would never fully know. "Did you keep the table?" I laughed. "A real one. The kind that comes up from somewhere deep and surprises you on the way out." "I kept the table." She smiled.
Small. Certain.
"Good girl." She closed her eyes. Within a minute the crossword was rising and falling gently on her chest with each breath. I sat down on the floor beside her recliner and looked through the doorway at the kitchen. At the oak table from Knoxville, scratched and ringed, standing exactly where it had stood since 1976. The folder was in my bag. The notes were in my wallet. The house was in the trust. And for the first time in 18 days, the counting stopped. Here is what happened after. Derek's balloon payment came due 7 weeks later, right on schedule. He missed it. Redstone Capital, the would-be buyer, had already moved on to another deal. The bank started foreclosure proceedings on Derek Hartwell acquisitions. 3 half-finished townhomes in Franklin. A commercial lot in Brentwood. Derek filed for bankruptcy in February. He sold the truck. Last I heard, he was working as a project coordinator for someone else's firm, making a fraction of what he once made. He never called to say he was sorry. I did not expect him to. Sandra's reputation in Cedarwood faded slowly, the way they do in small towns. People talk. Aunt June talked. Pearl Watkins talked quietly over garden fences to people who had known Elaine for decades. The details got around. Sandra stopped going to junior league. She and Robert sold their Cedarwood home in the spring and moved to a condo in Brentwood. My father emailed me once, in April. 3 sentences. "I should have done more. I know that now. I am sorry." I read it 4 times. I did not write back. Some apologies come too late to be anything except a record of what a person already knows. But I saved the email. Adult Protective Services confirmed the complaint. Both Pearl's anonymous call and mine. Over the next 3 months, through 2 court hearings that no one in my family even tried to fight, the September power of attorney was officially thrown out. The court named me as Elaine's legal guardian and confirmed me as permanent trustee of her trust. I put the bar exam on hold. I took leave from the firm. I moved into the guest room at 22 Magnolia Drive, the one with the ceiling crack I had been staring at since I was 6 years old. And I became the person who made sure Elaine Harper ate dinner every night, took her medication, and never spent another birthday sitting alone at a table set for people who were not coming. On a Tuesday in November, I baked a cake. Lemon with cream cheese frosting. Nothing special. Set it on the oak table. Elaine shuffled in from the living room with her crossword in hand. Whose birthday? Nobody's. It is Tuesday. We are having cake because it is Tuesday. She sat down. She took a bite and closed her eyes. This is my recipe. It is. Do not change it. We ate in the afternoon light with the prism above the sink throwing little rainbows across the floor. The dahlias in the blue mason jar. The table holding, same as it always had. The folder was in the hallway credenza. The notes were still in my wallet. Both of them. Maya, when they come for the house, open this. For Maya, keeper of the table. A person's worth does not expire when their memory starts to go. The quietest love in a family is sometimes the only one keeping watch. That is my story. One empty birthday table, one folder, and a grandmother who remembered everything while she still could and made absolutely sure someone else would remember for her. If this story hit you, I really want to hear from you right now. Drop a comment and tell me what city and state you are watching from and what time it is there. It means everything to me to know where the Silent Revenge family is watching from. If you have a grandmother, a grandfather, a parent, or anyone older in your life who matters to you, do this one thing today. Have a conversation about their legal papers. It does not have to be complicated. It just has to happen before the window closes. If this story reminded you of someone in your own life, share it with them. One share could protect someone who cannot protect themselves. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now. I post stories like this every week on Silent Revenge. Real people. Real boundaries. Real consequences. Stories where dignity always gets the last word. Like this video if you stayed till the end. Drop a comment and tell me the one word that describes how this story made you feel. I read every single one. I will see you in the next story.